All right, welcome back. We're doing something a bit different today, something I think you'll find really useful. We're going to take a massive 19-mark question from a real AQA GCSE Biology paper, and we're going to tear it apart piece by piece. The best part? We're using the official mark scheme. This is like getting a peek behind the curtain to see exactly what gets you the marks.
I mean, haven't you ever wished you could just see the official answers before an exam? It's the ultimate cheat sheet, right? Well, today, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're going to get inside the examiner's head, figure out what they're thinking, and learn how to turn what you know into actual marks on the paper. And our guide for this whole thing? The official AQA mark scheme.
So the beast we're tackling today is question 2, all about the human circulatory system. And we're not skipping anything. We're going through every single part, from the quick 1-mark multiple-choice questions all the way to that big, scary 6-marker at the end. You ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, let's dive right in. The first few questions are all about decoding the human heart. It's a classic heart diagram question, testing you on the basic chambers and what they do.
So here's the diagram you'd see on the exam paper. The first 2 questions are multiple choice, nice and simple. Question 2.1 asks, which part gets the oxygenated blood from the lungs? And 2.2 asks, which part pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs?
And for that first one, the answer is A. The mark scheme confirms it. The left atrium is the one that receives that oxygen-rich blood. So just a simple tick in the box for A, and boom, you've got your first mark. Easy peasy. Let's keep this ball rolling.
All right, next up, the part that pumps deoxygenated blood out to the lungs. Well, the mark scheme is super clear here. It's C, the right ventricle. Another tick in the box, another mark banked. See? Not so bad.
Okay, the last question in this little section asks where the pacemaker is. And according to the mark scheme, there's only one right answer, the right atrium. Simple as that. So that's 3 questions down, 3 marks already in the bag. Nice.
Right, moving on. The next bit of the question switches gears a little. We're moving from the heart itself to the blood vessels, and it's asking for a direct comparison.
So they show you this diagram, a cross-section of an artery and a vein. The question is pretty straightforward. Give 2 ways their structures are different. This one's worth 2 marks.
Now this is where looking at the mark scheme is so helpful. Look at all the different answers you could give. To get your 2 marks, you just need to pick any 2 of these. You could talk about the artery having thicker muscle tissue or thicker elastic tissue. You could mention the lumen is narrower, or a really good one, that veins have valves and arteries don't. The key thing here, and listen up, this is important, is that you have to make a comparison. You can't just say arteries have thick walls. You have to say they have thicker walls than veins. That comparison is what gets you the mark.
Okay, for the next section, we're putting our biology knowledge aside for a second and putting on our data analysis hats. This part is all about interpreting data and drawing graphs. It's where being really precise is going to earn you big marks.
So question 2.5 gives you a table of data and just asks you to describe the trend. This is what the mark scheme says is a perfect answer. You can say it straight up. As the percentage of the artery that is blocked increases, blood flow decreases. Or you could even use the fancier terms like negative correlation or inversely proportional. The examiners will accept any of those. As long as you clearly get the idea across that when one thing goes up, the other goes down, you're getting that mark.
And now, the 4-mark question. These can feel a bit daunting, but the mark scheme breaks it down so clearly. Here's how to bag all 4 marks. First, you get a mark for using a good scale on the y-axis. That just means you have to use at least half the grid. Don't squish your graph into a tiny corner. Second, you get a whole 2 marks for plotting the points correctly. They even give you a little bit of wiggle room, half a small square. And finally, that last mark is for drawing a smooth, curved line of best fit. Remember, no connecting the dots with a ruler here. It's got to be a nice, smooth curve.
Okay, so you've drawn this beautiful graph. Now you've got to use it. The next question asks you to predict the blood flow for a 35% blockage. Now notice, 35% wasn't in the original table, so you have to read it right off your brand new graph.
And check this out, this is so important. The mark scheme gives a range of acceptable answers, anything from 18 to 24. Why? Because your answer depends entirely on the line of best fit that you drew. As long as you've drawn your line properly and read from it accurately, you get the mark, even if your answer is slightly different to your friends. It just goes to show how important getting that line of best fit right really is.
All right, here we go. The big one, the grand finale of question 2. It's the extended response, the 6-marker, and it asks you to explain what happens to the body when a coronary artery gets partially blocked.
Now, before we even get into the biology, let's look at what the mark scheme tells the examiner. To get into the top band, the level 3, it says your answer has to do 3 things: identify the right points, give some detail, and, this is the absolute key, logically link them all together to tell a clear story. It's not just about listing facts, it's about building an argument.
So, let's build that story, that logical chain, right now. The mark scheme suggests starting with the root of the problem. You've got a blockage. What does that mean? Well, it means reduced blood flow to the heart muscle cells. And the immediate knock-on effect of that? Simple. Less oxygen and less glucose can get to those cells.
Okay, so what happens next in our chain? Less oxygen and glucose means less aerobic respiration. The heart's muscle cells can't work the way they want to, so they're forced to switch over to more anaerobic respiration. And the big problem with that? Anaerobic respiration just doesn't release as much energy. See how each point connects to the next?
And that brings us to the final links in the chain, the consequences for the entire body. Less energy means the heart muscle can't contract as strongly. This is what leads to those symptoms you hear about, like breathlessness and feeling tired all the time. On top of that, the anaerobic respiration is producing lactic acid. That's what can cause muscle fatigue, or that classic symptom of chest pain. Tying all of that together in a clear sequence, that's what a 6-mark answer looks like.
Phew, we are on the home stretch. The very last part of question 2 is all about treatments. It's testing if you can apply your knowledge to a real-world medical situation.
This one's worth 2 marks. You have to name a treatment and explain how it actually works. The mark scheme gives you a bunch of options. You could mention stents, which physically open up the artery. You could talk about statins, which help reduce cholesterol, or a bypass, which creates a new route for the blood to flow around the blockage. You could even mention a heart transplant. The crucial thing is you need the pair. You can't just say stent, you have to say a stent opens the artery to get the mark.
So there we have it. We've completely decoded a 19-mark question. But what have we really learned here? It's not just about the biology, is it? We've seen that the mark scheme loves precision, it loves clear comparisons, it wants perfect graph drawing technique, and for those big questions, it's all about building a logical, step-by-step argument.
You know, looking at an exam through the examiner's eyes like this, it can be a total game changer. It shows you exactly where the marks are and how to get them. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you've had a peek inside the official mark scheme, how is that going to change the way you answer questions from now on? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.